Hola, welcome back to my channel Clear Vision, where today I'm going to be diving into a topic that many of us have experienced at some point in our lives, if we're honest with ourselves. Chasing relationships that are just no good for us. Why do we do it? What keeps us coming back to toxic bonds? Let's explore the psychology behind these patterns and discover how we can break free from them. If you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss another video. Check out all the other playlists I've got and all the videos I've done on various topics. Let's get started. First, let's define what we mean by toxic relationships. These are relationships where the negative interactions outweigh the positive ones, leading to emotional, mental, or even physical harm. Despite knowing the damage, we often find ourselves drawn back into these unhealthy dynamics, and we want to know why. The other way you could describe a toxic relationship is where you know where the problems are. Let's say your partner is toxic. They acknowledge it. Maybe they say, yeah, they do it, and they don't do anything to change it. Now this is repeating. So the negativity is repeating, then it becomes toxic, and then you start up with maybe some toxic behaviors as well in order to counter or whatever. I mean, personally in private practice, I've really have encountered numerous individuals who, despite being aware of the detrimental effects of a relationship, repeatedly find themselves in these harmful relationships or staying in the same one. Understanding this phenomenon requires us to dive deep into the intricacies of human psychology. Several psychological factors will contribute to this behavior, and one major reason is your attachment style. Our early experiences with caregivers shape how we relate to others. So, for example, if you had an inconsistent or neglectful or emotionally unavailable caregiver, you probably are highly likely to develop an anxious attachment style. John Bowlby, who came up with attachment theory, he posited that our early attachment experiences form an internal working model that influences our relationships throughout life. So this internal model is kind of handed to us. We learn it. We learn our interactions with our primary caregiver. It's best if it's mum or whoever's next, or it's inconsistent, it's in and out. This creates the internal working model. This creates kind of like your expectation on the world. This is how the world works. This is what love is. You know, if you take a Jungian approach to it, it's like you get the blueprint of what a relationship is with a woman, what a relationship is with a man from your early experiences with your mother and your father or your caregivers. You may well develop an independent, I don't need anybody kind of attachment style. But let's have a look at how this may affect. So you have an anxious attachment style, for instance, and maybe this might make you overly reliant on your partner for validation and even security, even if the relationship is unhealthy. Another factor that contributes could be low self-esteem, where we don't value ourselves. We may settle for less than we deserve, believing that we can't do better. And this again often stems from internalized negative beliefs, which were formed in childhood or through past trauma, where we've introjected messages from the environment, and these messages may well not be correct. It's that development of the internal critic. I mean, there's another side to this. There's the idea of the concept of repetition compulsion, which is the unconscious drive to repeat past experiences, often to gain mastery over them. So if you've experienced neglect or abuse in childhood, you might unconsciously seek out similar dynamics in adulthood, hoping to achieve a different and more favorable outcome. How do I take this further? You know, my mother was neglectful, so if I fall in love with a woman who's emotionally unavailable and a bit neglectful, and I actually manage to change her, then I've won. I've won in the present and I've won in the past. That's the kind of thinking behind it. The issue with that is it often doesn't work. Unfortunately, it really doesn't work. We pick someone who's emotionally unavailable because we're used to people who are emotionally unavailable. They're going to probably stay emotionally unavailable for the reasons that they have, unless you are able to form some kind of healthy relationship, and that's always the carrot on the end of the stick, if you like. Now let's talk about trauma bonds. These are emotional bonds with an abuser formed through cycles of abuse and intermittent reinforcement, which creates a powerful addictive connection that is incredibly hard to break. The highs and lows can actually make us feel alive, and emotionally engaged. We like the drama. We say we don't, we kind of don't. It causes us stress and all the rest of it, but we like the drama and the dysfunction that comes along with this relationship, because it's like, wow, it's moving, it's doing something, it's whoa, this is, I'm interacting with this. So with this kind of engagement, with this dysfunction, it causes a confusion in our sense of what love and connection should actually look like. And again, if we watch their parents doing it, or we even had that with their parents, then we're kind of repeating patterns, because that's what we learn. Trauma bonds are often characterized by a push-pull dynamic, periods of affection and attention, followed by periods of abuse and or neglect, which create a powerful craving for the abuser's approval. And this can be likened to a form of addiction, where the victim becomes hooked on the emotional highs provided by the abuser's occasional kindness. So it's like, when that goes, you're then waiting for the next scraps from their table of attention, the carrot that's being dangled. I will try harder, I will run on the hamster wheel even faster to get back to some kind of kindness that you're going to offer intermittently. So if we understand this, and we understand this about ourselves, it can really help in breaking the cycle, because recognizing that these intense emotions are they're not indicators of true love, but rather that of a trauma bond, is the first step that you can take towards healing. Another influence is society and media, because they also play a role in perpetuating toxic relationship patterns. Movies, songs, TV shows often romanticize unhealthy dynamics, porn as well. It makes them seem exciting and desirable, because they are exciting in some ways. But this can really kind of skew our perception of what a healthy relationship looks like. For example, many popular narratives glorify the bad boy or the troubled woman archetypes, suggesting that love can conquer all, even if it's deeply ingrained personal issues or abusive behavior, which can lead people to believe that enduring suffering in a relationship is an absolute testament to our love and our commitment and our devotion, rather than a sign of an unhealthy dynamic and maybe a low self-esteem, which nobody wants to hear. Now, disclaimer here, I'm not knocking movies, books, or anything that promote this. I've got no issue with it at all, but sometimes we need to remind ourselves that this is not necessarily conducive to a healthy relationship. This is sensationalization, this is drama, this is something which pulls us in. This is almost on the macabre kind of side of things. And we're attracted to it. Because it's exciting, because nobody wants to sit and watch a happy family for an hour and a half. It's like nothing much happens. It's kind of a reality, actually, of the way we're kind of wired. In contrast, though, to all of that, healthy relationships, which are often characterized by stability, mutual respect, and emotional safety, like I said, seem a little bit boring or uneventful by comparison. But it's important to challenge these societal narratives, or even our own kind of paradigm, and recognize that a healthy relationship, though it may lack the dramatic highs and lows, it does offer a more genuine and sustainable form of connection. And often there comes this moment where we receive it, we're actually engaged in it. We're like, oh, this is a healthy relationship. I don't want it. I'm scared of it. Because you can take it to the level of what you've learned creates a script, an internalized script of how your position in these relationships, how you play these relationships. You may have heard that phrase, I know how to be in dysfunction, I know how to be in drama, I know how to be when it's this, I know how to be when it's that. And then you get into something healthy and you've got nothing to work from. You've got no script. You're not used to it. You're totally unaccustomed to it. And so it's like, oh, now I'm lost on the ocean. I don't know how to work this healthy relationship. What do I do? Where should I be? Are they angry with me? Are they not? Are they sad? Are they this? Are they that? Well, I've gone out and done my own individual hobby thing. I'm having time out for myself, and they're not kicking off. So something must be wrong. It's that kind of, the problem is that there isn't a problem. And this can freak a lot of people out, especially if you've been so used to dysfunction or abuse. Right. How do we break free from chasing relationships that are no good for us? Here are some steps to consider. First of all, self-awareness. Recognize the patterns in your relationships and understand your attachment style. Work back into your childhood to discover, was your caregiver emotionally available? Were they inconsistent? Were they anxious? Were your parents always fighting? What was going on? What was childhood like? Were you seen as a child, or were you one of many siblings and you didn't get seen? Your needs didn't get met. Try and figure it out. You could do this with a therapist. There's lots of self-help online as well to be able to help you discover what this may be. And then reflect on your past relationships and identify common themes. And some people go as far as kind of doing colored charts and what are they? Mind maps and things like that. Journaling it can also be a helpful tool in the process. Number 2, I would say work on building your self-esteem through therapy, self-care, positive affirmations, engaging in activities that make you feel good about yourself, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. If you surround yourself with negative people who don't want the best for you, who are putting you down, who are abusing you, you're going to struggle to grow within that environment. It's like shutting a plant in a dark room with, shit soil and, not enough water. It's like the environment is conducive to your emotional well-being. So if it's a negative environment, you're going to have an unhealthy well-being. If it's a positive environment, you're going to have a healthy well-being. It sounds simple, but it's not always simple when you're in it. Boundaries. Learn to set and maintain healthy boundaries. Discover what they are. Decide what they are. Write them down. I want to be treated this way and I don't want to be treated this way. Why? What does it bring you? Ask yourself that. What is having this boundary going to do for me? And then you're taking it a little bit deeper, and then you can begin to implement it. So decide what these healthy boundaries are in your relationship and maintain them. And this is going to involve a few challenges, such as saying no when it's necessary and not feeling guilty about it. You're going to have to practice assertive communication and respect towards your own needs and your limits in order to implement and adhere to your own boundaries. The 4th way I would say is to have a support system. Surround yourself with supportive friends and family. This goes back to environment again. And these friends and family should be people who reinforce your self-worth, adhere to your boundaries, respect this, respect that, and they have theirs and you respect theirs, so it's healthy and it's supportive. It's not rescuing. It's not, you don't sit on your pity pot and act like the victim all day long. They're not going to put up with that, but they actually kind of help you to help yourself, which is great. And this is going to be really, really beneficial in order for you to break out of this pattern of picking toxic relationships or toxic people, if you like. So you need to have a strong support system in order to provide this encouragement and validation that you may well be missing in your relationship if you haven't left it yet. Seek some professional help, because different types of therapeutic approaches, if you like, they all have their own unique benefit. So seek out a therapist who can help guide you through healing from the past trauma, building healthier relationship patterns, can even help you reparent yourself, become the parent that you never had. That's a really powerful thing to do. Nurture your own inner child. I've done videos on this, and this is a learning curve, and therapists can help you with that. And all sorts of therapeutic interventions as well, such as, cold water therapies and underwater weight training and, outward bound stuff and, anything getting back to nature, new hobbies, things like that. All of this helps towards building that self-esteem and changing the paradigm, changing your worldview and how you think consciously and unconsciously things should work and what is healthy and what is not healthy. Another thing I'd say is actually write down what you think a healthy relationship is. Write this down and not just it's two people being happy and supporting each other. Go deep. What do they do to do that? How do they do? If they have a conflict, how do they resolve it? If one needs a bit more support than the other, how do they do it? How do they interact with each other? So really, really kind of design, I call it future building, design what a healthy relationship really looks like. And this, like I said, it can involve writing it down or visualizing it. Any way of kind of cementing this in your mind is this is healthy. So therefore, when you come across something which is unhealthy, you will go, whoa, alarm's going off. This is not very healthy. This is not what I'm working towards. So you remind yourself of what you want and what you desire and what is good for you. 1, when you face that, when you're being offered that, and 2, when you're being offered something which isn't, which is maybe more toxic and dysfunctional. To round this all off, breaking free from toxic relationships is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not going to happen overnight because there's normally a compounded history of repeating patterns there. It is about learning to love and value yourself enough to seek out and maintain healthy, fulfilling connections. It's about learning how to be in those healthy and fulfilling connections. And like I said, it's unlearning or discarding and learning new things. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it gave you some insight. And as always, until I see you next time, please take very good care of yourselves. Adios.